Absolutely. And I'm experiencing that now. I'm experiencing that now with my son. And all of a sudden he wants to get it, you know. But in regards to, and I'm sorry, I interject here. When it comes to voting, Paprice, what it is, I'm probably the oldest of, well, me and Gil, of everybody. But Dick Gregory said a long time ago, if we hold our vote, he used to say for years, if we hold our vote, we will get everything we need. When it comes to black votes and they start talking about our vote, what it is we're the deciding vote when it comes to these people getting in office. That's why they solicit us. We're that deciding vote. As Gil and Paprice, you know that around the job, what I used to do is I used to take a list of all the judges that were running. I would go and look into their background. I would put out a list of the judges that were impartial, fair judges, and I would pass it out. Our local elections are the most important. These are the elections that are important. When it comes to presidents, they're selected. It doesn't matter. They're selected. Our local legislations are what's important. It's important in regards to the money. It's important in regards to who you put in office. And it's damn important when it comes to these judges. If them judges are not favorable with the majority of the lawyers that are out there, they're not good judges. If you know any lawyers, and I have them in my family, and I have a judge in my family, when you look at these judges, you have to look at their past record. You have to look at their conviction records. Who are they putting in jail the most? And a lot of that is public information. It's very tedious, but a lot of it is public information. And I did stop because people didn't appreciate it. And in the line of business that we're in, you're right, Paprice, that initial meeting, stop initiating that meeting with the officers when you do what you're supposed to do. Have your ID on you. Unfortunately, we have to probably pack a bag before we leave our goddamn house when it comes to the police.
Yeah.
And we're on the other side of that. We're on the other side of that mic, and we still have to do it. I can't even tell you the number of times I get stopped. And the only thing really that keeps them from kind of bothering me is the fact that I'm my police dispatcher.
Yeah.
I have had those meetings with them. So it does not, matter. My daughter's had one of them told my daughter why is she driving an Audi, white female.
What?
So it's going to happen, and it depends on what we do with it. And when it comes to the cell phones, if it were not for cell phones in this age, we would not see a whole lot of this. I'm thankful for it, but you're right. People still should jump in. And I understand why a lot of those people probably didn't. If a white person had jumped in and said, get off of them, nothing would have happened to them. Right. But if a black person had done it, you risk you risk being shot. And I'm sure that's probably what went through their head.
I totally
exactly. So I understand why sometimes people don't interfere with the police. I have had situations that I've seen and I've interfered, and I felt scared at the time when it was over because I was like, oh my God, did I do that? I interfered with somebody said that they were being raped, and here comes the offender, and I just reacted. And you have some people out there who might just react. Even if that white woman who was saying, get off of him, had just pushed that officer off, I guarantee you nothing would have happened to her. They would have deemed her a hero. Nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I said, in regards to voting, that's the reason why they're saying hold the vote. But that's just the presidential. These local elections are extremely important. Extremely important. And when I have an issue with the alderman, I tell them, I'm going to keep calling you until it's done. I didn't hear you, Paprice.
If we hold our vote right now, Trump does 4 more years. That's what we cannot afford. Exactly. We can't afford Trump to do 4 more years. Holding the vote right now makes no sense to me. Because if we don't vote,
Well,
Trump for more years. He's got supporters.
actually, he didn't win. It was the electoral.
Hold on.
Got him in.
Marcel.
He actually didn't win.
Hold on. Let Paprice finish, because we can't hear if two people talk at once. So go ahead, Paprice. What were you saying about not holding?
What I'm saying is, we can't afford for Trump to do 4 more years. If we hold our vote now, this close to the election, we run the risk of him getting 4 more years. Whereas there's a 50-50 chance that if we vote, he may not. There's a 50-50 chance that he may still get back in office. You're right, the Electoral College decides. But at the same time, if we vote, then we still have a chance. I would rather vote than not. Because if you don't vote, then you didn't contribute anyway.
Right.
And who wants to do that? And for me, voting is a lot more important because of everybody who lost their lives for the right to vote. You have a responsibility to vote. You have a moral responsibility as a Black person in America to vote.
I think, honestly, I'm going to tell you, never sit out a vote. Vote some kind of way, because voting in that vote is our economic power, is our social power. It's hitting us on every level: educational, healthcare, every level. You have to participate in the process. Otherwise, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's senseless to me. And
if you do nothing, you can't complain.
No. And Loretta, what were you you want to say something, Loretta?
Hubby and I are talking back and forth about the conversation. But you know, I wanted to speak up earlier. Marcy had mentioned something that struck home for me. Being a biracial woman, I'm affected on both sides.
Right.
Because I have a Black husband and I have Black children. And not only do I have Black children, I have Black sons. And I am afraid for them every single day.
Me too.
And every time I talk to them, I'm telling them and trying to instill in them how to come home. Yeah. How to make sure that they come home every single day. But at the same time, I'm also, Marcy, what had struck me, what you said earlier, was about how you're dealing with white people or having to deal with white people, because I have a whole white side of my family that won't even comment about what's going on. You have Black nephews and you won't even crack your lips to say a word. When I saw this video, I have been literally, you can ask my husband, I have been literally sick. Today I had to take all time off of social media, no news, no anything, because I'm one of those people that I take on the emotions and the energy from other people.
Yeah.
And last night I sat right in this spot and I cried, because the weight of all of the anger and all of the pain and all of the hurt is so heavy right now. It is so heavy. And there's nothing that I'm in North Carolina. There's nothing that here in my position that I feel like I can physically do right in this moment. Right. And my husband says, yeah, it is. but at the same time, I feel as though I'm having to make a decision, and I'm having to make a choice. And I have no problem with making that choice, because like I said, I have sons, and my sons come first before anybody. I don't care who they are. And I have no problem with cutting people off. I've done it before, I'll do it again. If they can't, if the other side of my family can't stand beside me and support me and support my children and my husband, then they need to get out of my way.
Absolutely.
Because this is real.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's gotta be tough when you, if you don't mind, when you say your other side of the family have not even commented, so they've not expressed that how they feel at all. They've not said that it's wrong.
Not
They've not said that it's tragic.
only one person out of my whole family, and he said what they did was a disgrace to the badge, was the comment.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's tough.
To the badge.
Yes,
I was
to the
saying,
badge.
I was, to me, I think that what they did they used the police as a cover to do their dirt. I
Absolutely.
think they used the uniform and the badge for what they really wanted to do, and it has nothing to do with the
Absolutely.
police. That's my
Can I jump in? Is
sure.
Oh,
that all right? I'll add some voice. Maybe I'll go for a long time. So if I talk too long, feel free to cut me off. I'll start by saying I've removed myself from the media and consuming anything that comes either via the news or Twitter or Facebook. So I actually have not seen this most recent video, and I've actively chosen not to watch any of the videos that come out, because even though we're talking about this one, but I've had friends ask me if I've seen the video of so-and-so in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, I think this is national uproar number 4, at least in the past month, that's a national story. Because, from a content and information curation perspective, we didn't really hear these stories during the time that the pandemic was the most important story. That doesn't mean that murders weren't happening.
Right.
I've had probably a emotional, social journey here in the past few weeks as a function of coronavirus, but also, I am a Black man. I have sons. Actually, I have biracial sons. I am adjacent to whiteness in a majority of my lifestyle. But as a function of skin color, I am a part of a group no matter what, right? And I think there's been a lot said, but I would add these few points. One, the things that we can do actively is love ourselves and those closest to us. And we can do that with the energy that we feel that rage with. 2 is we cannot let that rage set in our soul, because the rage hurts those who are closest to us. There's nothing I was telling this to somebody, there's nothing, as upset as I am not going to go choke anyone who was a part of the murder. The only person that will likely get injured is myself, my children, or my wife, because those are the people closest to me. And when rage erupts, that's where domestic violence happens. That's why most murders are committed against the people who we are closest to, because that is the person who we are next to. So I would say meditation, right? And I don't know how open-minded people are these days. I think it's becoming more so just because of coronavirus and the fact that people are stuck in the house. But for me specifically, meditation has helped. And a focus on loving myself and loving my family. Knowing that I live in abundance and knowing that I personally live in safety, right? Free from harm. Because if I consume the media story and believe that story as a function of my children, I cannot operate day to day. Because it is debilitating, right? Fear stops you in your tracks. And it's terrible. I would say though, and this, I don't mean this to be pessimistic, but I do think that it's important for us as a group of people in the United States to understand that this is not our space, right? Like the structure was not built to support minorities, and we represent a minority group. Numbers say 13%, maybe we're 15, right? But the structure of the system is 100% majority, whether it's our Congress, our police, our institutions of higher learning, our companies and our organizations. Even when we talk about wealth, there's no one that says that the top 10 families who control all of the wealth in the United States, 13% of them are Black. There's 0% of that, right? Even when we talk globally, there's a handful of billionaires of color, but once you become a billionaire, race doesn't matter anymore, right? Because now it's economics. And that economics is what drives all of our relationship with the world. I had a friend actually say, I'm in Austin. I have neighbors that are APD. And one of the comments was, because they closed the bars, there's no one to arrest, so work is boring. Which I understand. But if you think about that economically, then that means that the bars function as a reason for the police to exist in that space, right? Arrests are down. And they were down even when we were talking about Freddie Gray. But that's because it was like this concept that, oh, there are criminals on the street who should be arrested, but we refuse to arrest them, as opposed to people are being arrested for financial reasons. And I just think if we pay attention more to the system and fully appreciate the fact that the system is not built for us, and then wrap that back around to focus on what we can do, which is love ourselves and love our children, then life is what it is. And I think somebody made the point of staying out of the, I don't know what exactly was said, but I think what we also have to remember is that we are humans and we are prey and predators. And we exist in the United States as the prey, period. Some people like to think they are predators, but they are not. And we see it every time we turn on a video. But lynching has been happening forever. It's not a new thing. But if we go all the way back and talk about the way the country was structured, people were murdered to take land, and then people were stolen to create wealth. And that transcends. Nothing has changed about that process. We still kill, and we still treat workers like their only value to society is to generate wealth for those who have it. Mm-hmm. I think, and then again, I'll wrap up at some point, but I think from a voting perspective, that one is complex, right? It is important to vote, and 100%, if you have the opportunity to vote, vote. But I also think it's important to note that disenfranchisement is a function of the system. I was telling somebody that when we think back to landowners getting to vote, people assign themselves to having been a landowner back then, like as if they would have voted if they could have. And we get into this concept of Black people voting versus white people voting and the numbers in this, but disenfranchisement is for everyone. Whether we vote physically or not, they also have white people voting against their best interests. So the division of the group along racial lines is still a function of power and economics. And so, yes, vote, but also make sure that you understand that the system doesn't want you to vote, right? And so it's important to articulate to friends, coworkers, neighbors along any group, right? Race, religion, creed, culture, whatever, that not only must you vote, but you need to vote in your best interest, separate from what the media is telling you, because the media, again, is wrapped up in power and influence, and they tell us what to do. Actually, I wrote a note, and then I'll finish here. But because we are constantly consuming fear and anxiety, our ability to make logical decisions are rooted in anxiety. And then the current state of frenzy blocks our ability to process and contemplate, right? And so we are all always so upset that we can't actually take time to think. And that is the power that I think society has over all of us at large. But if we take time, to bring it back around to meditation and mindfulness, if you have the opportunity to take 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever that amount of time may be, to just focus on what's good, positive, loving in your space, your immediate space, the space that you can actually manage, that love will extend itself. And people will still get murdered though, right? And that's just what it is. Somebody's still gonna have to die, because dying is what happens. Power kills. We are a warring people. We are the prey though in the United States. And so how we manage it is a function of our ability to manage it. But there's nothing really like I said, there's nothing you can really do until those in power decide, or until those who should be in power come into power, right? Like right now we've got groups and groups of old white men deciding everything about everybody, but they don't represent what the United States actually looks like. So until Congress is 13% and until CEOs are 50% women and Hispanics have a say, right? And until, I'll actually even say inside of my own company, like I said, cut me off. I do employee resource group work, and we are constantly talking about alliance, right? Men as allies for women. How can we get our white brothers and sisters to be allies for Blacks, Hispanics? In some parts, Muslims come into that because they are a traditionally discriminated against group. Plus, Ramadan just happened, so their visibility is heightened. But the question then becomes, what about those people for whom intersection exists, but they don't have a voice, right? I can try to be a voice, but I am still not adjacent enough to power to tell those people who are in power that this other group needs a voice. So I don't know. I would say good luck, which is a terrible thing, but it's crazy. It is crazy. So I guess, I would like to hear from those who have sons. My oldest is 10. I do not share with them the evils of the world as a function of their race.
You not.
Why?
How can you not?
Why? And why?
Well, we don't consume the media, and we don't talk about that experience because right? They won't be. So this is what I said, but I said this to somebody else, but I'm opening it up because I would like to hear another opinion, right? What I said is, at the age of 10 right now, I have the ability to limit the interaction. However, I know that that's not necessarily true as it relates to police in schools. And in Texas, school districts have their own police company, right? It's like city police and then it's school district police. They're separate, but they work together. But still, that experience of being a Black dad, seeing a policeman outside of the school makes me have a reaction that then I don't necessarily want to pass to my children, because I don't want them to have a fear response to a uniform, because that fear response is what triggers fight or flight, and then people start doing dumb things when they're scared, which is how, and then because we're prey anyway, we end up dead. Now, like I said, my oldest is 10. At 13, that's a different conversation. But I feel like that logically, but that doesn't mean that that's true, right? And I just bring that up for discussion. I'm gonna go on mute.
I have
Samir Rice 13. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I have a 22-year-old male son and an 18-year-old male son. So when my kids aren't home at a certain time, I hate to say it, but fear sets in instantly. So I'm constantly, even though I have a 22-year-old son, and even though, he's grown and he's still living with me for right now, I still have to check on him to make sure, even if he wasn't living with me, I'm still texting to make sure that they're okay. because number one, my oldest son does wear dreads. So you already know within the African American male, they already have a stereotype anyway when a black male wearing dreads. So, I really get nervous, with that. But as a mom, I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, you're fighting COVID-19 right now. Then now you fighting with also being killed by the police officer. What else is next? So it's just pretty much, it's really scary out here. And it's just figuring out ways for our children to be able to, I know you can try to tell them to be polite, but sometimes the police officer may push them to the limit. So what really can you say and do but just ask them to just be careful? I mean, that's all I can really say, just for them just to really be careful. And then for myself, I didn't grow up in Chicago. I grew up in a small town outside of Chicago. And our high school was more majority Caucasian, with a lower percent of African American people. So I didn't really deal with like the racism and everything. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but I didn't experience that in high school, for the most part for me. But I'm not saying that it's not out here. It's just finding ways that we could be careful and try to help one another. Also, another point I said, being killed by your own race. Because in our community, the black on black crime is also terrible. Here in the Chicago, worrying about getting shot with the gun violence. So we got the COVID-19 we got to worry about. We got to worry about getting shot by the police officer. Then we got to be getting killed by our own people. So it's just like, as a black person in general, we have a lot of dynamics that we have to be concerned about. And we shouldn't have to feel like that on a day-to-day basis, that we're living our lives on the edge, if that kind of makes sense.
Right.
Well, let me just say this right quick, and because I can, for Mr. Scott, I understand what you're saying. I was kind of confused at first, but there were a few pointers, and I don't want to dissect everything that you said, but there's a difference between rage and outrage. Meditation, yes, a lot of us do it. I do it. I practice it. Number two, I don't watch a lot of the media, but I still like to know what's going on because I'm here in Chicago. And being out of a police dispatcher, I'm getting a lot of news anyway. So when I come home, I digress. I do not watch the news. And as far as when you say how this country is set up, you're absolutely right. People that make these legislations and everything are majority white. And that's why I said the most important things are like the local elections and things like that, that we do have some say-so in, and we do have, I wouldn't say a lot of control, but we have more of an ability to be able to do something in that retrospect locally. And living here in the city of Chicago, unfortunately, you wake up black every day and you wonder what's in store for me today. You know what I'm saying? So our dynamics here are probably a lot different than your dynamics there in Austin and where you live at. I live in an all black community, which they're trying to, in the Auburn Gresham, what they're trying to gentrify. Well, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, these are ills that we have to deal with here in Chicago, and more so than others. Mm-hmm. And in regards to, being killed by our own race, that's in every race. Everybody, because people are more comfortable with their own, so the likelihood of you being attacked by somebody of your own race is probably 80% more than somebody of another race, because that's who you feel comfortable with, even when it comes to all those different races. But
I understand that. I'm sorry.
Again, waking up every day as a black person here in the city of Chicago, these are the things that you think about, and it's extremely stressful. And I understand what you say with what you do when it comes to your sons, because they should not have to fear a uniform. But unfortunately, like I said, we live here in the city of Chicago. And I started teaching my son early on that there's three things that are going to be against you living here and in the neighborhood we live in. You're young, you're a male, and you're black. And I've tried to teach that to him. And I think what happens is after a while, when they get out there, he's 28, get out there and experience what he's been experiencing, they begin to have no hope. So this is why when they have that initial meeting with the police, they feel, hey, I'm gonna get locked up anyway,
Yep,
you know,
I agree.
and they just start to have no hope. And as a mother, and I'm married, by the way, 31 years. He has a father. We're a middle class family, and irregardless of that, he still exists in this environment. And for some of our children, this environment grabs a hold of them and it changes them and it depletes them of any hope that they ever have. Any hope, no matter how we raise them. He has a passport that has been stamped many times. So, and he started early, showing him things. He speaks Arabic and what is it? He speaks two languages. My youngest daughter speaks two languages. So it almost doesn't matter. And I always say they hung him in suits. Whether he has dread, you said your son has dreadlocks. Mine had it too. And yeah, he was targeted constantly because of his locks in his hair.
Jump in real
But also the numbers matter. If they make no arrest, they don't need. Then if people comply to everything, then there will be no jobs for police officers. None.
Here's the thing. Now,
oh, I'm done. I'm done.
I want to say something, and I want to, it's for everybody, but directly, but indirectly to the gentleman. When he says that, I'm not going to try and quote, but I think that there's a disservice that is done when you don't prepare your children for what's going to happen to them in the real world. Tamir Rice was 13 years old when he was shot and killed. So I get that you keep him shielded from social media and what's going on in the news, but he's still a black man in America. He's a black boy in America. You have to prepare him for what's going to happen outside in the real world. And I'm not talking about just the police. George Zimmerman was not a police officer, and he murdered Trayvon Martin. My son is 18 years old, and I watch him, and I constantly try and mentally and emotionally prepare him for what he's in contact with. That includes teachers, doctors, nurses, people at the grocery store, people driving down the street, not just police officers. We as parents have a responsibility to prepare our black girls and boys and tell them about racism.
Absolutely.
And racism exists in the world, and for some reason they hate you because you're black.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to do that for our boys, especially. We can't shield them from the reality that we're all living in. It would be ideal if we could put our kids somewhere and they would never, ever have to face racism. But one day they may, and they won't be prepared for it because you've not told them about it. You've not told them, although you're biracial, you're still a black boy. Society sees you as a black man in America. I'm light complected. My children are all light. My daughter has suffered racism within her own race because she's white.
Same here with my daughter.
So racism exists, and we have to tell our kids about it. We have to prepare them, and we have to tell them about what's going on in the world. We can only protect them for so long.
Right.
So you send our little black boys out there into the world unshielded, not knowing what's going on. They don't know about a George Floyd. They don't know about a George Zimmerman. They don't know about a Tamir Rice, who was 13 years old in the playground with a BB gun. They don't know about a Hydea Pendleton. I don't think that is fair. I don't think that's I'm not telling anybody how to parent. I'm speaking from my own personal experience, and I have a responsibility as a black mother to tell my black son everything that's going on out there in the real world. And I can put him in the best. I can put him in the best schools.
I hear what you're saying. But my question is then, and this goes to the concept of fear and anxiety, one, and then two, that lost hope. How do we pass along the education without clouding our children's future? right?
answer
So
Go ahead,
I'll
Dad.
say this, like, I'll just let me
Oh, I'm
make this
sorry.
point
I
about
didn't know if you were
myself.
done. My fault.
So I was like, I've just recently, this is a strange statement what I'm getting ready to make, but I just recently recognized that I lacked self-awareness. And a function of lacking that self-awareness is when and this is the experience that I had, which is when I was like, oh, damn. But if I see one Black person in a group full of white people, I see that Black person. But before I realized that I lacked self-awareness, when I was the one Black person in a group full of white people, I didn't see myself that way. And
you didn't see
that
yourself.
has allowed me to behave in a way that did not have the restrictions of Blackness that it should have, right? So when someone would say something to me like, oh, I can't believe you said that like that, or I can't believe you would allow yourself to put yourself in some situation, I probably was in danger for sure. But sometimes that danger is a function of risk taking, right? And I would not have taken those risks, whether professionally, socially, or emotionally, had I known, right, that I was a young Black male and I was also prey. And I guess my question is, not to derail the topic, right? But the question would be, inside of telling children about how dangerous it is in society, how do we also ensure that they are confident in themselves and capable of living a life that's full? Because otherwise, what I think I'm hearing is, it's my responsibility to remove my children from the United States. And this is a debate that I have with friends of mine.
We belong here just like everybody else does.
Right.
Nobody said.
I don't think that's true though. We don't. That's why they kill us.
Well, I want to hear from
We belong here. We have a right.
Who's here? Hershey.
Hey, how you doing?
And my sister.
Hey, sis, how you doing?
So,
all right.
I want to hear from you too.
Okay, I just wanna hit on a couple topics that y'all had addressed. I agree with the sister when you said that we have to teach our young men what is going on actually out there in the world. Wholeheartedly agree with that. I have two sons, one of my own, one's hers, who are 16. I've always believed that you don't raise your child the way where they are. You raise them for where they're going to be. For example, when my son was 10, I was raising him to be 13, 14. When he's 14, I was raising him to be 18, 19. You raise them to where they're going to be. 10 years old, he's a lot more intelligent, a lot more aware than what you give your son credit for. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
If he's not aware around you, he's aware when he goes to school and he socializes with other kids. That's definite. And if he doesn't hear the truth from you about what's going out there, what's happening outside, he's going to find out the truth for himself. Unfortunately, finding out that truth could be more detrimental to him than if you were to go ahead and lead him and tell him the right way. He doesn't have to cut down another path when there's already been a 4-lane highway going in that direction. It's your job as a Black father to go ahead and guide him that way. I'm sure everybody on this forum knows about the talk. And the talk is something that you actually have to start, I feel, this is just me, when your child is 5 years old. You're not trying to go ahead and scare you or promote fear.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're actually doing is just giving them information so that they can maneuver out here in this world. Speaking on that, getting on another one of your topics, when we talk about economics and you talk about how, there's a whole lot of rioting going on and police are trying to get you. And I was born and raised in DC. There's a lot of prejudice going on in DC. It's pretty deep. It's pretty hard. There are sections just on the outside of DC where I was driving through and I was told that I should not be in that neighborhood when the sun goes down.
Wow.
It happens.
Sundown laws.
Exactly. They call it sundown towns, the whole nine. But,
In 2020.
so I've experienced all of that. I've experienced having police kick my taillights out and give me a ticket for it. I've experienced being stretched out on hot hoods, in the middle of the summer, burning the side of my face. I've experienced all of that, getting kicked, getting stabbed, not stabbed, but hitting the ribs, I've experienced it all. I have a lot to teach my son. I don't want him to go through all of that. But you have to, that rage that people have, that we have, whenever we see something like this go on TV, we have to go ahead and know how to channel that rage. Channel it within the rules of the game, because that's all this is. It's just a game. And they know how to play the game a whole lot better than we do. If you teach your son the game and the rules of the game, then you can make the change from within, because that's the only way it's going to get changed. We're not in positions, or we don't set ourselves in a position to go ahead and build up power against power. We don't have it like that. So we have to be just like the coronavirus. We have to be the virus. We have to work from the inside and infect the whole for what it is that we want to do as a people. I heard somebody was saying to withhold the vote, and that's smart, but it's not a smart move right now. Because right now we have to put ourselves in the best position that we can put ourselves in. Once we're in that position, then we can hold some sort of power. Then we could start to hold the vote. Then we can start to make demands. But we have to come together with a program. We have to come together with an agenda that we're solid about, that we're going to go ahead and tackle. I heard somebody mention it's like the 40 acres and a mule and reparations. For me, realistically, you're not going to get a mule. You're not going to get, 40 acres. You're not even going to get money.
Right.
However, knowing this, you play within the game. Say, okay, I'll tell you what, this is what you do. For every child that's between this particular age and this particular age, they give them free education. Let them go to a free college. Go ahead and give them scholarships. And then once they go ahead and pursue this particular time, then you go ahead and you make housing more affordable. Just like you have the GI Bill, you can have the reparations bill. Same thing, just change the name of a couple places. And so therefore, now you're offering a foothold within the community, which in turn becomes a foothold within the county, which will go ahead and generate the votes that we need and the power base, along with the economic base that we're going to need to go ahead and make moves that we want to make for us, for our kids, for our schools and our communities, the whole nine. And then we can start to break down a lot of those laws that's on the books. But first things first, I don't know how religious y'all are, but I'm getting it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some things out. I hope y'all don't mind. In the Bible, the first thing that God made was the man. So therefore, the man's has a household. The man needs to be there regardless. He needs to take care of everything up underneath him. His wife's underneath him. He needs to take care of her. Kids underneath him. He needs to take care of them. That's his responsibility. She needs to be safe. His kids need to be safe. That's your responsibility as a man. The first unit in the Bible is the family. The family is the nucleus to everything. Even when it comes down to neighborhood, when it comes down to government, the family is the nucleus. And that's why we have been attacked as a people in the nucleus. They try to go ahead and separate the mother from the father. You go ahead and you do that. Now you have a perpetual state of demolition. We need to go ahead and get on our P's and Q's. We need to understand that the first form of government is the family. You get a group of families together, then you have a council. You get a group of councils together, then you have a government. And from there, we can go ahead and make the power moves that we're making. But we have to teach each other this particular way. And sometimes people get frustrated. You can expect that. But if you start off young and you teach your kids young that this is how this is supposed to go. It's not like this now, but this is how this is supposed to go. And you instill that in them. Just like I'm sure you have family members, older family members that have instilled things within you from way back. And it's still there. It's still there. That's what we need to do.
I miss that.
Exactly.
Because that's why I feel like everything in disarray, because when I was younger, I'm in my early 40s, but when I was younger, you know, the whole entire neighborhood could say something to me if I was out of line. Exactly. But now you can't say anything to anybody now without getting cursed out, without being disrespected, and saying you can't say anything to my child. That's not, you know, but when I was growing up, that's what I miss, and I feel like that's one important piece that's missing now. There's no structure, and so that's where there's a lot of disarray that's going on right now.
Exactly. And when there's no structure, there's no respect.
Yeah.
And when there's no respect, then you have, you know, the rage, and you don't have a way to go ahead and let it out. So now the police are right there with a catcher's mitt, trying to catch our young kids, trying to catch our brother, trying to catch everything, because they play the game and they play it well. Their whole thing is, okay, I'm gonna step up to this line. I'm not gonna cross it, but I'm gonna lean across it to get you to cross it. And once you cross that line, I got you. It's a wrap. And so then you go into, you know, the whole prison system, which is slavery all over again. I mean, realistically, you know, technically, even judiciously, it's you give up your rights once you go ahead and you become arrested. People don't understand that. So now when they say that you are property of the state, you are actually property. And they can do with you whatever they want to do. There's nothing you can do about that. That's the type of things you need to teach your kids.
Exactly.
As far as the media goes, my saying is you need to go ahead and treat it like chicken. You eat the meat, you throw away the bones. And that's just what you do. When you go ahead and you watch media, like she'll tell you, I watch a lot of news, I watch a lot of media.
I do too.
They're not going to tell you everything, but you're smart enough to go ahead and pick out what they're really telling you, the whole agenda behind it. I watch Fox News too, because just like if you ever played any type of sports, then you know you need to know your opponent. Yeah. You need to know how your opponent thinks. Absolutely. You need to know the moves that they're going to make. Because once you know, just like in boxing, you study films, you study to see, okay, when he throws this punch, I know I can go ahead and counter this way. I can dodge back this way. It's not unknown to you. So you already know what punches are coming. Once you know what punches are coming, you can counter any way you want to. And that's the knowledge of me watching Fox News. And I don't agree with a lot of things that they say, but they tell you their agenda. They tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah.
The Republican Party is going to do. And in turn, that's letting you know what Trump is going to do. So if I know what's coming down the pipe, then I can prepare myself for the swings or the blows that's going to come. I can prepare my family. I can prepare my wife. I can prepare my kids. Okay, this is what's coming. Watch out for this, because this is what's going to happen. Even when it comes to CNN or MSNBC, they're not going to tell you everything, you know, and they're not completely for us. BET used to be for us, but now BET is definitely not for us.
They sold it.
You know, exactly. But see, they sold out before they even sold it. You know what I mean? As far as like dealing with us and informing us about us and topics that we need to know about in order for us to succeed.
If anything
that's
is
a
going
whole
to
nother
change,
topic.
we have to change it.
Exactly.
If it's going to change for us as a people, we have to change it.
Exactly. And the thing about it is,
it starts in the home, like you were saying. It starts at home.
But I have a question. So after this is all over, we're going to go back to normal, because you know what? This is not, I mean, I'm no offense to anybody, but we riot. Remember when the Rodney King, that was so long ago. But we're going back to the Rodney King when that happened so long ago. I mean, they were outraged and everything, but did the same thing, the looting, stealing TVs, you know, the whole 9 yards. But then after it dies down, then I feel like we just go back to normal, like nothing ever happened.
But see, here's the thing though, as far as like that goes, I mean, I agree with you, But there's some people you can't change because they're too far gone. And so only thing you got to do is just start working with the younger generation. So that, because you know that they're moldable. You can still put your hands on them. And the ones that aren't, then it's nothing you really can do about it because they just been neglected.
But see,
But
I think that brings us right back to the political process. I think it brings it right back to participating and to put people in place to make those changes so that we won't keep winding up right back in the same spot every month, every day, where we are watching our people being killed. We can't, that's how I started it out. We cannot do this. We cannot wait a couple months, start these action groups, and then nothing. Once it's not on the news anymore, you know.
I agree. I agree.
And a lot of what happens in our community is not considered important enough to even bring on the news. So we are not informed at all about what's really happening in our neighborhood. And we do need to watch the news. We need to hear their spin on what they're, and their angle of what they're telling. Because our story won't be told unless we tell it.
Absolutely.
And I agree.
The ones telling our own story, we always allow somebody else to tell our story. Exactly. But what needs to happen is we need to reject that it's normal. Reject that concept because it is not normal, and we should not accept it as normal. We should not accept it as normal. And in society, here again, and I don't want to keep jumping on the brother, but they see us as who we are, as Black people. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you're in the room with, you're seen as a Black person, and they treat us as such. So yeah, everybody tries to get along and be comfortable, but they see us as Black men and Black women. They see our children as Black boys and Black girls. And we, again, have a responsibility to make sure that we prepare them the best we can to send them out into what's happening really in the world. Period.
Exactly.
If you think about it,
it is incumbent upon us, though, it is incumbent upon us to make the change. And if we want to see change in our communities, we need to get out there, we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really, really trying to put my money where my mouth is and start getting out in the community. My daughter actually campaigned for the alderman. The last time we had an aldermanic run over here where I'm at in South Shore, she actually went and campaigned with the alderman. That kind of lit a fire under me. That's my 20-year-old daughter that's inspiring her mother. Mm-hmm. Get out and get into the neighborhood to try and do more and try to reach the youth and do more in our community to make where we live better. Everybody has to take on that job. It's a huge responsibility. It's a big deal. But if you want better for yourself and for your family, you have to step out on faith. You got to get out and do it. If you want to stop seeing Black men murdered in the street, you got to get out there and do it. You got to get out there and take a stand, get involved in it. Like Gail said, action. We can't just do it when it's something on the news. We got to stick to it and be committed to it.
And another thing that I could add on top of that will be the fact of we have to support each other. I mean, it's cool that, you know, okay, you might be doing your thing and I'm doing my thing, but I need to support you with your thing. Even though, because the more fronts we have, it's just like I used to be in the Air Force, Desert Storm, whole nine. It's like a battle's not fought on just one front. There's not just, I'm coming at you just this one way.
Yeah.
You have to fight battles on different fronts. Like, okay, we're going to attack over here. You attack over there. What do you need that I got here? You can have it.
Yeah.
That's a problem that I find too, that a lot of people, they run out of gas because they don't have the support. They have a great idea and they start out great and real strong, but they don't have nobody behind them that's actually giving them the support. That's just like when the brother was talking earlier and how he said that he wasn't in those particular type of circles to whereas he can make the moves that he want to make. My suggestion to you, bro, was put yourself in those circles. Mm-hmm. Go up to them, say, hey, how you doing? My name is. Shake the hand, look them in the eye, and let them know that you're a man and you standing there and you're trying to do some things for yourself and for your family. Mm-hmm. And they have to acknowledge that. They can't deny you because you're there and you're making a presence as a Black man, as a proud Black man with a family. You're making a presence, even though, and the thing about it is that presence is there whether you know it or not. Mm-hmm. But the more that you're in tune with your own presence, then the more of a presence you're going to make. Right. And so, and that's just, and not being disrespectful, towards women at all. I'm not, that's not including you, but I'm just talking to this brother to brother. That's what you got to do as a man. And as far as these black women out here, you need to support them hard and heavy. And because your sons are looking at you. They're looking at you on how to be a man, point blank, period. And it might come out wrong, but hear me all the way out. Your wife, your girl, I don't know what she is to you. Your wife, I'm sorry, thanks, babe. Is she can only do so much with a male. She can teach him only so much, but she's not a male. She doesn't understand what a male has to go through. She can go ahead and teach him her idea of what a male is. I'm sorry, not even male, what a man is. She can teach her, well, I know a man should have these qualities, but she can't teach him how to maintain those qualities within herself because those qualities aren't within her. You understand what I'm saying? So with that, you need to go to your sons. Again, being a man, you're the head of household. If you have daughters, your daughter's looking at you because you are the type of man who she's going to be with, who she's going to go ahead and look for when she gets out here in this world. So you have to go ahead and especially with your boys too, you have to go ahead and show them this is what a man does. This is how a man moves. This is how a man moves with somebody that he loves. So let me show you how you're supposed to treat a woman when you get her and the way that you do it, because it's not about what you say, but they're watching what you do and how you move. So if you go to your wife and you hold your wife and you kissing her and you're having fun, you loving her, they're watching that. They're watching how your wife is respecting you because of what you do. They watch how you hold everything down because of what you do. These are things that we as men, we have to go ahead and maintain, because there's a lot of kids out here, a lot of young men out here that haven't seen that. Only thing they've seen is just, or they think that because they on the corner and they talking, what does it say in the Bible? When the blind lead the blind, both of them go into the ditch.
Yeah.
And so if somebody doesn't know anything and they're telling something to somebody who doesn't know anything, neither one of them knows something, but they think they know everything.
Right.
And that's how they end up in trouble. That's how they end up out here getting these women pregnant just because and running off and leaving kids behind and the whole nine, because they never had a stand-up dude in their life to teach them, yo, it's not about how many women you got. It's about that one woman that you feel everything for. And so with that, bro, along with teaching them how the world works now, instilling in them now, listen, these are the pitfalls in the world. Do not be afraid of that, because God did not give you a spirit of fear. And on top of that, you should understand the reason why you're here isn't because of fear. There are a lot of, this is what I tell myself. You're strong and you don't even know it. You come from a strong set of genes and don't even know it, because your ancestors, they didn't jump off the boat. They made it all the way over here to America. It took a whole lot of strength for a 3-month ride in the bottom of a boat to get all the way over here and make it, because a lot of them didn't. Mm-hmm. They went on ahead and they worked every day on a slave plantation, day up, day down, sun up, sun down, picking, doing whatever they had to do just to go ahead and pass the genes that they had, which was tested, went through the fire, just so they can go ahead and give them to me and I give them to you. So no, you are not a loser. No, you're not trash. You're a strong, independent Black man. And it's my job to get you there where I am. That's what you need to do, bro, with your son.
Do you,
That's what you need to do.
You speak at schools, or are you a mentor to young men in the community?
Me?
Yeah.
No, what I do, I'm gonna tell you.
Don't laugh that off.
Nah. What I'm gonna tell you though is that
I'm serious.
No, I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. I think I've seen a lot more than what a lot of people have in their lifetime. I've been through a lot. You know, I can tell you some stories that'll break your heart. I can tell you some stories that have you ducking with fear. And these are things that I've lived through. And so with the wealth of information that I have, man, I gotta tell people. I gotta tell them, look, man, it's real out here. You know, and for me, I mean, the only thing that's more real out here than what's out here is God. So, you know, I'm not a Bible thumper. I hadn't read that far yet, but I believe in God. And I know what he's done for me. But then with the same sense, because I believe in me, you know, I feel that me being a black male, I'm no better than nobody else, but I'm no worse than nobody else. Mm-hmm. So what's in me is just the same thing that's in you too. You know, and even though you didn't, you know, you talk about how you didn't come, you know, didn't have that knowledge of self as of yet when you were coming through, you still was a black man, like she said, regardless of what you felt about yourself. That's how the world sees you.
Absolutely.
But you don't understand that the melanin in your skin holds a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. It holds a lot of weight. Yep. It's more durable than those without it. You've been through more than probably anybody has ever been through, you know, of any other hue that's next to you. I guarantee you that. And I'm pretty sure if you look back through your life, you could probably wonder, like, you know what? Yeah, I did do that. And yeah, I did do that. And you can look back and you look just like if you go to your old neighborhood and you still have some people still on the same blocks doing the same things, yeah, but you left them there and they never moved. But then you look at yourself and you can feel sorry for them, and you know, you might throw them $1 or $2, whatever, but you know where it's going. But then when you go back off that block, then that's when you go ahead and reflect upon yourself and you look at your own accomplishments of what you did in life. You got, how many sons you say, 2? You got?
I'm 3 strong.
That's all the more better. That's all the more better. But I'm saying though, I mean, but see, think about it though, man. That's a special position to be in. Yeah. That's what you should feel proud just because of the fact that, okay, I have 3 sons that I'm gonna go ahead and put out in this world and they're gonna make a difference. They're gonna be everything that I let them know that they can be. So you don't hold nothing, you put everything in them that you possibly can. Same thing for, I mean, you ladies, I'm sure that's what you're doing because that's what y'all do. You know, I don't even have to tell y'all nothing. Y'all already
Absolutely.
Do it. Most importantly, I think most importantly is that he tells those kids that they are black men in America. They are black boys. And there is this thing that happens where I think some people get the idea that because they have another side, that they're not necessarily, nothing's gonna happen because they're this side. In America, you are a black man. That's just it, that's all. That's how society sees you. That's how you're going to be treated. There are things that you can teach, that you have to teach them that their mom is not gonna be able to teach them because she's not had that experience.
Exactly.
And that's just the reality of the world, of society. That's real life. It's the truth. It's just that we all need to be very, very honest. There are things that we will go through, our black children will go through, and nobody else can tell our children how to feel, how to do, how to act, because they've not had that experience. They've not shared that experience of being black in America.
Yeah. And you know
that's why we have to tell them all about it.
Right. And I want to add too that some people have that, well, I'm doing okay. That's them. That's their problem. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care where you find a black person on this planet, we're experiencing very similar things because of the color of our skin.
Absolutely.
Don't get that twisted ever. I'm so serious. You can do your research and you will find them facing a lot of the same issues that we do simply because of the color of our skin.
Exactly.
You know, I agree. Even
their news won't put that out there either. So
even with education, you know, they don't think that we deserve the better education. You know, if you guys seen the Michelle Obama Where she's talking about when she was a senior in high school, how her counselor told her that she wasn't good enough to go to Princeton, I think, right?
Right.
Right. She wasn't good enough to go there. So it's just pretty much, telling our kids you can go and be whatever you want to be. When my son was a freshman in high school, you have to do, those who are in Chicago, you're familiar with the selective enrollment. I'm not going to name the school, but I had a problem with a teacher there telling me that my son wasn't good enough to be there, pretty much. Like, this might not be the school for him. And this was a Caucasian teacher telling me that. And I called and told him a few choice words. And then after that, I didn't have any more problems out of them. But at the end of the day, if we continue to allow people to tell us who we are, what we can do, and what we can be, they will continue to try to do that and tell us who we are and what we can be. And I tell all my children, I don't care what you want to be. If you want to be an astronaut, be the best astronaut you can be. I'm going to be behind you 1,000%. And don't let nobody tell you what you can and can't be. Now, if it's something in criminal activity, I'm not getting involved with that. But,
Right.
But on all seriousness, though, I believe my kids can strive to be whatever they want to be. And I'm supporting, like my middle son, he's an entrepreneur. We've been doing it since he's 11. So we got a lot of things going on. And he's 18 now. So I'm always supportive of helping him get to where he wants to be in life. And so, some teachers tell him, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Trust me, I know it's important to get education, but also don't ever let anybody tell you what you can do and what you can't be. And also in our society, they try to limit us as African American people and tell us how much money we can make. That they try to keep us in a social, status. A lot of people's like, oh, it's okay. We get comfortable with being in the system, with living. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with living where you live, but you don't have to live there forever. You should want to see yourself being better. As you see now is more and more with society that in our community that you see more African American people moving up in major companies now, like the first African American is the first African American. It's crazy how times are really changing. We can make a difference, but we have to learn how to work together, like Loretta's husband said, to come together. That if we can't do that, we will continue to see the same thing. We're going to continue to get the same results. That's just my
It shouldn't still be the first this, the first that. We should be all inclusive at this point. We're behind the 8 ball. We should be all inclusive at this point. And I just want to jump in on something too with the riots, with them burning down and everything. Not that we condone that type of behavior, but they burned down Black Wall Street. So burning down businesses didn't just start with the people that are rioting about the police brutality. This has been happening. They burned Black churches, they burned crosses on your yard. So they need to stop acting so shocked and amazed about people burning down stuff when they were the originators, innovators of burning down everything Black or everything that meant something to Black people.
Right.
So again, businesses, schools, being educated, all of that is a responsibility that we have as a people. We got to do better. I know I'm doing the best that I can do with my children and trying to teach them that it's far more important for them to make good choices and to prepare themselves. And like your brother-in-law said, putting themselves in the right positions, in the right circles, with people who are going to support them, who are going to be there and help them. Because I can't do it all. I can try my best, but there needs to be coalitions of people that are going to help our youth, because that's our future. These little Black boys and girls, these teenagers, young adults, that's our future. We are getting old. So we need to prepare them to take over so that they can take care of us. So we have our future doctors, lawyers, judges, teachers. Everything that we need needs to be now. We need to be making that happen. We need to be making that happen. That's our responsibility. It just is. The Black community can't sit around and wait for anybody to give us anything anymore. We've waited long enough. We've waited long enough. It's time for action.
Right. We shouldn't have been waiting around in the first place. And you are right. You can't put all the weight on one person, 1 or 2 people, and that's our leader. Now we got to get another leader. No, we can all lead. We can all pull together and work in unity, and we can move forward, because we cannot continue to live in conditions that we are. This has to end.
Do we have a leader? Who's our leader? Y'all laughing. Who's our leader? Do we have one? Jesse Jackson, we ain't seen him since the coronavirus.
Ooh, Jesse Jackson's not a leader.
Al
Look,
Sharpton,
who?
who's our leader?
No, I'm gonna tell you who your leader
Who's
is.
our leader?
The leader is you. That's the leader right now.
I'll be the leader.
How are you the leader?
I don't know. We had no leaders. I see a lot of storefront preachers here lately.
See, here's the thing, though. But see, you're a preacher. You're a preacher in your own right. Because the thing about it is, right now, you're preaching to your kids, and you go ahead and you instilling in them what they need to know to survive. Like Martin said, we might not make it to the mountaintop with you, but you will get there, and you will get to the other side. That's the whole thing. Now, I agree with the other sister too, as far as like, and this is getting back on the hold and vote thing. Right now, this is just my secret. You know, I don't tell too many people this.
Okay.
I mean, for real, I don't tell too many people this.
Let's listen.
Right now, given the economy, given what's going on socially, right now is the best opportunity for our people to make moves. And the reason why I say that is because the economy, as far as what the white stronghold has, is crumbling right now. Right now, they're doing whatever they can to go ahead and scatter to get this, scatter to get that. They followed themselves into a rabbit hole with Trump. For those people who follow behind him, like, okay, well, this is going to be our guy. They know he's not that guy.
That's right.
They already know this. They already.
I think they want to get rid of him because you know what? I be on social online a lot, and I was hearing about how the Republican Party is really nervous, especially with the upcoming election coming up in November.
And they are, because the thing about it is they saw what happened and I want to thank everybody for what y'all did in 2018 as far as like the vote, because a lot of people came out, and whoever voted, I just want to appreciate that, because as far as like the Democratic Party, they took over. There was the whole blue wave thing. I mean, the Republicans never lost that many seats in one election ever. And so they already know.
They about to lose the Senate too.
Right, and so they already know. And the only reason why they haven't lost it because they held on with a real thin majority. But they know that they're losing it this time around.
Yeah,
they already know. So right now, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because right now is the perfect opportunity for us to make moves. We definitely don't want Trump back in, and Biden. All right,
we'll take, as long as Trump don't get back in. Right. Your vote is a vote against Trump. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
If your vote is a vote against Trump. Exactly. And I got to get my son registered. He just turned 18 in February.
Same here.
Because the only reason why we lost the last time was because 45% of us didn't vote. At all.
You know why? Because we were saying the same thing then. I'm holding my vote because I don't like Hillary.
Well,
I ain't vote because I don't want Hillary.
It's the same thing. Or they were following after what was his name, Bernie, and because Bernie, you know, they ended up jipping him out of where he should have been. Then they got mad, and so they say, no, we're not going to vote.
Well, that's what it was. It was
exactly.
It was Bernie. That's why.
But the thing about it is,
this time,
it
was Bernie this time. Bernie should have dropped out long before he did.
Exactly, but there's consequences to every decision that we made, and right now, a lot of people realize that. Oh well, now I know the consequences. Before it was like I didn't know nothing. Now I know.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of Republicans, and they're nervous, but they're scared.
I want to ask you all real quick too. Are you encouraging your family to take part in the census? Are you guys?
We done. That's right.
I'm done. I did mine online.
There you go.
Yep. It took like less than 10 minutes.
Right. But you know, a lot of people, a lot of us won't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you know, that's another little piece of the puzzle, of the pie.
Exactly. And then
also, the big majority of the people that don't do it are Hispanics. They don't because they have a lot
because it's immigration.
They have a lot of illegal immigrants living with them. They don't do it. They barely even vote. Because I look at the numbers. They barely even vote because they don't want to bring attention to the fact that a lot of them are over here illegally. Right. But my thing is, if you want to be legal and want to be inclusive in this country, you have to still do it. you know, and they should really be voting because he's the one that has set ISIS on them and putting them out of this
Absolutely.
In the
country.
first way.
So
So
all of us
if
that are
they
legal need
don't
to
take the
vote.
time out to vote, you know,
Right.
shame on them.
Now, one thing-
Everybody
And
that's
Miss
here
Manning,
needs
I
to
just
vote.
wanted to say something to you in regards to it goes back. Miss Manning,
Ma'am.
I'll get to that for you. But Miss Manning, what I wanted to say with you as far as solutions and things, and you said that we just go back to the same old thing. I think one of the things that you can, and not you per se, but that we can do, especially like in our different neighborhoods, on our block, we're starting the block club back. I think in the years past, block clubs were very essential when it came to Black communities because it kept the riffraff out. And even over here, like my oldest daughter, she wants to be the block club president. But what we do on this block is, because it's a very quiet block, what we do over here, when there's a situation or people out here to play their loud music, you know, we dare to go out there and say, you need to turn that down. You know, you need to keep your kids out of everybody's grass. There's not going to be people on this block late at night causing a havoc. You're not going to stand on the corner. You're not going to do this. I think when you start putting those things in action, then you can start changing a whole life. The thing is really to change the behavior.
Absolutely.
And the thought that, hey, I live over here, I can do what I want. No, you can't. Because when you're serving everyone else, no, you can't.
It would take the neighborhood.
And you go to the parents. My mom did that, and she was not off.
Yeah, but she can't do that by herself.
No, I already, you know, so like
the
currently,
initiator.
I'm sorry.
Good people. I'm saying she can be the initiator and say, hey, go to some of your neighbors. You know, we're thinking about starting a block club party, so a block club group, so we can have a better cohesive neighborhood, be better neighbors to each other, and call it out. Because when there's a situation, we'll call each other and tell them, hey, call. And I tell them all the time, yeah, call all the time. You know, being that of a 911 dispatcher, yeah, call, and keep calling until you get someone over there. And call your alderman. And when I answer phones at work, I tell a lot of people, oh, I didn't know I could call my alderman. You put them in the office. Yes, you can. Hold their feet to the fire. They are liaisons between the community and the city government. Hold their feet to the fire. Tell them, you know what? I've told Brookins before, if you don't do something over here, I'm going to vote you out because I voted for you. And this was your platform to get rid of that. It was a liquor store on the corner of 83rd and Halsted. This was your platform to get rid of, and you still haven't done it. And you got all them errors. When they money is out there to sell drugs, you know, nothing is said about it because what are they doing? Putting money in your pocket? My husband hit them up in a Dunkin' Donuts one day. It was like, we got potholes like crazy around our block, and you need to send somebody over there. Did he not in 3 days send someone over to fix them damn potholes? Because I broke a tire and it cost me $400 to get a new tire from a pothole.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, you when you start holding them accountable for the things that they do and inundating them with phone calls at their office, they'll step up. They'll step up and do it. And I was just saying, those are some of the things that you can do that are actionable, that can take place and make changes. And it may be small changes, but it's changes, you know.
Marcia, I'm already.
If there's a bunch of guys hanging out on my corner, sometimes I might say something, or I may go call the police and they, you want to leave your name? Yes, I do. And I will file a complaint.
Okay, hang on.
Go ahead, I'm done. Go ahead, Ms. Manning.
Marcella, I'm already out here in the community in my own small way with our nonprofit organization. I do a youth concert and resource expo for the last 7 years here in the city of Chicago, where I give back to young people who are under the age of 21, who are in the performing arts platform, because I know a lot of kids are in the performing platform. So I give them an opportunity to be able to showcase their talent, as well as people who have resources here in the community of the city of Chicago to be able to come out to set up tables, to talk about giving the kids summer jobs, to talk about giving kids, like, if they want to attend to a different school, give them opportunities to be able to do that. I also have competitions where I give money. I've had, last summer, I took kids to the WNBA game, the Chicago Sky. From my organization, I got free tickets. I took a bunch of kids there. You know, past Sunday, I just recently did a youth virtual talent showcase. It was nationwide. You know, I gave $500 to the first place winner, $200 to the second place winner, and $100 to the third place winner, as well as $50 to the fan favorite through donations of money out of my own pocket. So I do various things in the community, but what I was getting at is, as a community as a whole, we get in an uproar about everything that's going on. But then as soon as everything dies down, it's like we're going back to living our own lives. So my question is, us as a community, what are we going to do? Because this keeps happening, you know, with you know, I can't even dance out drawing the blank. This with our young people in general and old people in general. What are we gonna do? Like with Tamir Rice, you know, with you know, it's just, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna address the situation? Because we're gonna continue to keep having these same conversations. So what are we gonna do moving forward to be
How
able
are we
to
keep having these same conversations? That's the thing. How are we not going to keep having these same conversations? Because I don't want to. I don't want to talk about another police shooting. I don't want to talk about another weekend where 45 people shot, 9 died. I don't want to keep having these conversations.
So that's what I'm asking, like, what are we gonna do as a community to try to be preventative to, I'm not saying we can solve everything in one day, but
First of all,
what can we
like Marcella said, we need to go in and make demands on the aldermen. We need to go in and make demands on the aldermen, because these communities are their responsibility. These people that live in these neighborhoods are their constituents. So if you've got that one house where the entire family is a problem, the alderman has a responsibility to do something about that. So we need to start, I think, with, first of all, cleaning your own house, because a lot of these kids that are committing these crimes they somebody's son, somebody's boyfriend, somebody's husband, somebody's uncle, cousin, brother, son. They belong somewhere. They're not being dropped off here from nowhere else.
Right.
So we need to clean up our neighborhoods. The west side of Chicago needs a cleansing. It needs a cleansing. Whoever the alderman is for that 11th district, or wherever all that crime is, needs to be ousted.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be put in place who's going to make some real changes. Then that alderman needs to put his foot over there at whatever police district, and that commander that's in that district. We need to clean up these communities. We have to. It is imperative. It is life or death at this point.
And know the municipal laws on the books. There is a law on a municipal with a noise disturbance where you can sign a complaint against your neighbor. There's a municipal that if you're a nuisance in a community, so many complaints, you know, they can actually take their home. So know the municipals on the book.
And I want to say too, whether you know the law or not, police know that these particular issues can't be enforced, and they don't do it. They don't. And that's where your alderman comes in. That's where your alderman comes in, because he can demand that those laws be enforced. And
absolutely.
But I think some of these aldermen, I hate to say it, but they're paid for the, you know.
They get a $200,000 budget here in Chicago.
But it's just like you have like certain people on your party that's able to get you in, because our community is not up in enough uproar to vote these people out, even though in South Shore, that was a very close race. You know, we're getting the alderman out over there.
Now I'm in South Shore. Give me a call, because she's not getting back in. Leslie Harrison ain't getting back in office. She barely.
But see, that's what I'm saying. That was a very, very close nail biting.
She barely got back in there. I might have run against her myself. You get in touch with me. We're gonna get Leslie Harrison out of office. But she only takes care of Hyde Park.
And that's
not even. Is that her area?
Yeah, it's part of her ward. The remap, because of the remap, she got part of Hyde Park, but she does not for a certain part of South Shore. And then she goes up to, I think, 79th Street, and then Greg Mitchell picks up.
Okay.
Okay.
So
See, I live in the Kenwood area, and
Okay.
you know who's Sophia Kings is our office over here.
And see, all of these people who are not doing anything in their communities, and that it's relative because when they're not doing anything in communities, that's what allows the crime to breed.
Exactly.
That's what allows the crime to breed and grow the way that it is. You
Yeah.
should not be a homeowner, condo owner, even a renter, and have to live your life like a caged animal because you're afraid to go outside because of all the drug dealers and the little shooters but they won't. I say, you know, you won't throw a grape at a winery, but you'll shoot somebody in the drive-by and shoot a 5-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
And
So we have to make demands on, again, the people that are in position right now.
right.
Go stand up in your alderman's office, send them messages, leave notes, whatever you need to do. I've become very comfortable going to the alderman's office to complain.
Right.
Very comfortable.
Right.
But if you want to see change, you have to step out and you have to make the initial contact with whomever these people are there.
Absolutely.
What you said as far as it has to begin at home too, because
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember that when people left home and if they were out in the world doing some things that their family wouldn't agree with, you wouldn't see them for years. They wouldn't go to the house. But now they'll live in the house and sell drugs or guns or whatever else right there with grandma. You know?
Yeah.
So
where do they always go get them from, Gail? When they get arrested, where do they always go get them from?
Grandma's house.
Either their mother's house or their grandmother's house.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean they're going to
cases, girlfriend house.
Yeah, they know they can just go to their home and get them. They know.
And they'll be protected.
Yeah, you're talking about the police. Yeah, they know exactly that they can go right to their family's house and pick them up. And now well, I can't say much more, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and let me tell you what else happens with that. When there is drug activity from these houses and arrests do start, what happens is that home, that address goes on a seizure list. So if there's still continuous activity at that home, you can bring that up with the alderman and let them know. That goes on a seizure list, that this house is deemed a drug house. And they can actually come in and seize that property. So that's what I'm saying. When you know what the municipals are and some of the laws are, that's how you're able to enact it. And then when you see it, a lot of aldermen, they don't know that. The same way when it comes to the tips and stuff. You learn what those tips are for.
Right. But
which helps to clean up a whole lot.
How do they get to the information that you're talking about? Where can they get it? I can't, Marcella.
I'm sorry, there's public information when you can go in, you should be able to bring it up online and see what the municipals are. And if you don't know what the municipals are, the alderman's supposed to know that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go online and find those, because there's tons of municipals on municipal laws for the city of Chicago.
Okay, so they should look under City of Chicago Public Information, Municipal Laws.
It should be able to come up that way. You go in the City of Chicago. I'm gonna go on there and go back and track back and see.
Okay.
But yeah, you should be able to look at that and see what it is. Or you can ask your alderman.
Go ahead, sir.
Just real quick. See, we don't have aldermen in DC. We just have a mayor. But again, you asked the question like, how can you stop, or stop from starting all over again? Again, my suggestion would be to play by the rules. You've seen how these smaller white groups do. You know how they move. Aldermen, I'm sure they get elected to that position.
Absolutely.
During that year of their election, a lot of stuff get done. You need to go ahead and put yourself in that rotation. Get your group together and go for the election year. After election year, once they're in there, they don't care about nothing for the rest of the time except for that last year. So you get your group together and you focus on that last year because they need votes. And as long as you show that you got votes behind you, they're going to listen to you. The more votes you have behind you that you can influence, that they know that you can influence, they're going to listen to you. And that's how things get done.
That's
Because
true.
if you go to them at any other time, they'll go ahead and give you the yeah, okay, no problem, we'll handle that, and you back the same, next time doing the same
With the
thing.
same list of complaints.
Exactly. And so you have to be proactive as opposed to being reactive. That's what's going on with the riots. Everybody's reactive as opposed to being proactive.
Yeah.
So now it's like that's how you become, or start to make moves within, the rules of the game. Because again, it's all just a game. And so if you know how the rules of the game works, you can play the game to your benefit and get what you need to get out of it. Same thing with education when it comes to those PTA meetings and the whole nine. I mean, those are like positions that if you make moves, you overtake that
No,
PTA.
for us, it's the
And once you
LSC.
overtake that
The
PTA,
LSC holds all the power here. The
But you
PTA is cool, but the LSC holds all the power.
But
So if you can get on the LSC, you can actually run something.
and there it is. But I mean, you have to start small and be determined all the way through. That's when you have to have your agenda. Like, okay, this is what we're going to attack right here. Let's attack this.
Yeah.
Let's get this going. And
Absolutely.
so you go ahead and you start 2 years out, because election year is the year after. So you start 2 years out. Election year comes up. You have the numbers behind you. You have a group of people, and that's when you start networking. You get in your group. I got my group. Okay, you got this many. I got this many. Let's put them together. Let's go for this particular issue. And then you go ahead and you tackle that issue. And the only thing they're listening to is votes. So how many votes can I get from you? How many votes can I get from you? And you can go ahead. That's when you go ahead and be who you are. Okay, well, he's offering this over here, or she's offering this. What can you do for me? Because I got votes. I got what you need. You need to stay in there.
Yeah.
So now you're in a position, to use the brother again. Now you're not a hunter, you're a hunter at that point. And the only difference between being a hunter and the one that's hunted is the direction that you move it. If you're out in front, then you're hunted. But if you turn around, now you become the hunter. So at that point, turn everything around, put a frown on your face, go ahead and tighten up your Timbs, and then just go ahead and get your votes. You know what I mean? And that's how you start to make moves within the game. The more knowledgeable you are, like the sister was giving up knowledge before about, that I didn't know about, but I'm not there. But I'm sure, a lot of people don't know those rules or don't take the time enough to go ahead and research that. I mean, it seems like that's her forte. She's knowledgeable like that. So that's a well of information that you can dip into to go ahead and get a movement going.
Yep.
And who's going to stop you at that point?
Nobody.
And there it is. That's just my suggestion, my 2 cents.
Why you laughing, Marcella? Because nobody gonna stop me.
I'm preparing to sign out,
Okay.
but I just want to add this comment as it relates.
Thank you for joining us, Donald Scott. Thank you for joining us, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, everybody. We've been on for a little while, and I know it got off to a rocky start, and I apologize for that. But dealing with electronics, you never know what you're going to get until you try to do something with it. So I'm glad that I was able to, move over to something else, and we got in a really great talk, a really great conversation, and I do plan to further to keep this going. And I'm reaching out to other organizations who can, I want to hear what they have to say and see what they're doing. And I have to keep going and to see what we can do. I'm definitely not going to go back to quote unquote normal. I think, especially I think the pandemic has changed that.
It has.
Absolutely.
So we'll we will not go back to that world again.
We won't go back to normal, but I just think that we can't continue to keep sweeping the same issues under the rug. Because if we don't, we're gonna continue to keep facing them, and then so it's just like Loretta's husband was saying, we gotta start with the home first, with the basics. I mean, that's all we really can do. Also, putting the fire under our alderman buds or the mayor or whoever, and gathering people, because we do have an influence. It's just influence the right enough, amount of people to back us up, because when we go in there, we're fighting with ammunition, right? Just like with a gun, you gotta have ammunition. So when we go in there and we put the heat on them, then we have to demand those changes. Because if we don't, we're just gonna continue to keep, dealing with the situation. We don't want to, because we want to move forward in life, not backwards. Because sometimes I feel like we're going backwards, and we're not. We're making baby steps, but as soon as we get ahead a little bit, here comes something else, and we just, go back.
Right. I felt like when I was watching that video with Mr. Floyd, I feel like I was taken back to 1940. I'm not kidding.
Right.
That's exactly how I felt. And I never want to feel like that ever again, ever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They're taking advantage of the fact that we don't stick together. They've gotten it in, and we've allowed it. There's a huge gap with us as a people.
It is.
There's a huge gap, and we have to figure out how do we bridge that gap so that those people don't think that they can continue to do this to us, period. We have to demand to be treated equal. They've taken advantage of the fact that we're divided. When they storm the Capitol of Michigan, all of them with all their guns, they all went together.
Yeah.
They acted a fool together. The police didn't tear gas them. They didn't shoot bean bags at them. They didn't do any of that. Here we come, and we get choked out, shot, beat up, tear gas.
Yeah.
We got to do better as a people. The onus is on us. The responsibility is ours. We have to be united, stand together, demand that we get equal rights in America for a change. And we have to make demands that the people in office, the senators, the congressmen, that they pass laws to ensure that this don't happen. There's no way in the world a police officer should have 17 complaints and still be on the force, still be on the street.
Right.
That should be allowed.
Right.
That should be public information. And when you have an encounter with an officer, you should be able to go and find that information to see. And I think what another thing, that I think about is the fact that this systemically all this has been put in place. This is why we're divided. And I don't think that division is going to come together no time soon, honestly, because it's been too long and this was all designed and planned. We all know that. But what I think is, like you said, you want to run as alderman. And, Paprice, you my hero, so I will vote for you, period. But I think what has to happen is they don't make their records public. And when you come across an officer, and like I tell my kids all the time, the first thing you do, look at that badge number or look at that name. Because get that license plate number, because we have them pool cars and we can find out what district and who has that car. You look at that badge number immediately, because the initial fear is there when they pull you over. You look at that badge number immediately, and you look at that name on that badge number, and if not, then get that pool car number. A lot of people think the plainclothes officers that ride in these different cars, they're detectives. No, they're not. They're plainclothes officers. They're not detectives. And we have to educate them. When I'm on those calls, I educate the public. And I tell them too, call your district station, complain, get their car number, and you call your alderman as well. And you call, they named our group OPS, what they named it differently now. And you call them, even if it's a simple complaint. But most importantly, get that officer's name or his badge number. And I know they take it off. They take the numbers off the top of the car. Well, like I tell my kids, there's a number on the side of the car. The number on the side of the car is the ID. Everything on that car is identifiable, and you can be able to get to them with that. But as well, they hide those records. It is our responsibility to make sure that those IPRA is our responsibility to make sure the aldermen know about all of these incidents and the fact that those officers' records should be public information, just like our information is public. People can go on there, find out who we are, how much we make, and all that, and where we live at, all of this. Their stuff should be public as well. There's no reason, like you said, 17 incidents, and he's still on the force. Now look at what he's done. They give them the power to do this.
But that's not the first homicide. That's not his first
homicide. But in
homicide.
the communities and things like that, how we make a change.
But you know what?
Yeah, I can believe
I think that's.
But what I'm saying is what we're doing now. Gail has a great platform.
Hold on, hang on 1 second. I think that's a really good point to say, to make police misconduct, that should be public record. If they have a huge stack of complaints, that should be public record. Because anytime you have a person who's licensed to do anything, like a medical doctor, a dentist, or any practicing person where they have to get their license, any kind of complaints against them is registered, and it is public record. So, and I think the same thing should go, I agree with you for that. And that's something that has to be, that's probably something that's going to have to be put to a vote. So, Paprice,
exactly.
That's one of the first things you can run on.
Absolutely.
And I promise you're going to get some votes for that.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that would really snatch the rug.
We can't have people like that patrolling the streets. We can't have people like that officer. And he had the look on his face was sick satisfaction. Yeah. Because he's already confident enough to know, or at least he hopes or thinks, nothing's going to happen to him. Nothing's going to happen. He's gotten away with it for 19 years.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Abusing black people for 19 years. I can shoot you. I can beat you. Now I can put my knee on your neck and choke the life out of you. Nothing's going to happen to me. And he got up with such a confidence.
Right. I can do it all. And you can videotape me. I don't mind.
The nervousness and the fear that the other guy talked about, that fear and anxiety now needs to be transferred onto them. There's a such thing called transference. All of the fear and anxiety that we suffer as a black person, as a black people, needs to be transferred onto them. It's
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
They should now be afraid of what's going to happen when they commit crime, when they murder people, when they kill black people, unarmed black men and black women. They need to fear and be worried about what's going to now happen. I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life. I'm going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and I'm going to go to jail. Now I'm going to be taken away from my family like I took somebody away from theirs.
Right. Exactly.
That black man had a family. Say what you want to say about him. He had a family.
And
if they start to think about them leaving their families, maybe they'll do the right thing. Maybe they'll do the job that they were hired to do.
And when they only talk about him or the victim of the, he's an entire person with a whole family. You know, let's bring the humanity.
But it was a medical call. It was a medical call. I don't understand that. It was a medical call. But you're right, Paprice. That transference. Yep.
Transference.
Yeah.
Because you know you're going to get legislation in place. There's going to be legislation in place that says if you have an unjustifiable homicide, you kill an unarmed civilian, you're going to jail for 50 years.
Right. And I think
that needs to be a law.
They're hiding behind that badge, that uniform. We got some serious criminals.
Yep.
Behind that.
With a badge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just want to know, I got $1 million question. Why do they hate us so bad?
I have no idea.
Intimidated, because you got to understand how powerful we are as black people. Think about
that's inherent too.
Huh? What you say,
that's inherent. That's passed down. That's inherent. They don't know. That's out of 58 years that I've seen, that's inherent. That's passed down. You know, that's taught and it's passed down. And like Miss Broadway was saying, her family is silent. They don't know how to respond because that's inherent. They don't know how to respond, you know, and they don't wake up to this. They don't know. And like you were saying, Paprice, Gail, that's those people. They, you know, we have our issues.
That doesn't affect me, you know. And
you know,
I think, honestly, I think this began from slavery.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it starts from slavery, but that's all about behavior.
And I can say this too, Paprice. I think the media plays a big part of it. All of our stuff gets put out there. No, and we know there's crime all over the city in every neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
But our stuff is displayed. This is why they don't like us. Our stuff gets put
that if you all saw interview, Marcella, you were there when we talked to journalists from the Sun-Times, John Fountain.
Yeah.
And he said that our stories are considered news. Certain incidents in our neighborhood
are what?
News. And we will not hear about that in the news. We won't. And that's
You said our story, you went out, Gail. Our story is what?
A lot of our stories are not considered newsworthy. A lot of the things, a lot of the issues that we feel are important issues. Say, for instance, the women who came up missing and killed, that wasn't considered newsworthy. That wasn't considered important enough to focus on these women individually as human beings. They talked about them in a group of 51. And I'm telling you, I really believe the moment that we became free, it was open season. It's been open season on us.
We never been free.
Yes.
Yeah. They changed the laws. They started changing the laws. That's why the gun laws came into place when we got our freedom. They changed the law.
You got your quote unquote freedom, then they criminalized it.
Yeah.
Because then you became once you released from the slave owners, once you stepped off the plantation, you became a vagrant, and they criminalized you.
Yes.
So you've never been free. We've never been free, and that's a problem.
Yes.
We're free in a sense. A lot of us don't physically pick cotton, but we're not free. And a lot of us, unfortunately, are not free mentally either, because we still believe that in a room full of white folk that we not black.
Right.
So hence one of the problems. I don't see myself.
There were several scientists who recently. There were several scientists who recently did a study that the average Black American has PTSD.
Yeah, I know we do.
That's the study.
How can we not?
Because of what we endure. And they also did a study with, they do a study with these new resident doctors. And they wanted to know, why do they discount our pain when we come to the doctor? And they said it is because these people endured 400 some years of slavery. They ought to be used to pain. So you gotta look at why they hate us, because of these ideologies in their head. Like I said, it's a lot of it is inherent. These resident doctors, new doctors, they polled these white doctors, and they felt that. Even my doctor, she's a Black doctor, she said Black women and white male doctors don't mix.
They don't.
They discount the way we feel. This is why we die of cancer a lot. And it's acknowledged that more white women get breast cancer than anyone, but we die from it because they discount our care, the way we feel when we complain about things, because of the fact they believe, because of what we've gone through slavery. Now, right there, you got your admission that we went through slavery, but because we've gone through it, our ability to abstain pain should be greater than that of a white female or what have you, so they don't play up into it. So you got to look at all of those factors.
Their belief extends all the way to our children, even as far as our little girls.
Absolutely.
Remember when
Absolutely.
the Obama girls in the White House and some of the mean, cruel things that people said, these little kids were just being kids. And I'm just
But
saying,
you got to remember they age us too.
yeah, it's you know, it's like our kids, excuse me, are considered innocent. Where the hell they get that from? You know, it's just, and it comes down to the fact that something I was thinking about yesterday and even today, we can't convince them of our humanity. We can't convince them that we're 100% person, people, whole. We can't convince them that we're human. That's something that it does carry all the way back from slavery till present day. And I don't know.
I think it has more to do with them than it has to do with us.
Absolutely.
They don't like themselves. They know that there's an inferiority that's there for them for whatever their own personal reasons are, their upbringing. I don't know what it is. But when you don't have real contact with people, why are they so upset with you? Why do they hate Black men and Black women so much when you don't keep them from eating? You don't keep them from having a place to live. You don't affect their lives at all.
Exactly.
You don't affect their lives. So why do they hate us so much? We are human beings, whether they want to admit it or not. We are humans.
Exactly.
Just like they are. We deserve to be here as much as they deserve to be here. We have a right to be here. Because I said, what else do you want?
Exactly.
So if they send us all, if you say send us back to Africa, well, for one, I've not been there yet.
Right.
So I wouldn't know the first thing about what to do once you brought me up. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm sure I would figure it out, but for you to make that type of demand and that's going to make you happy, will that fix everything for you? I want to know.
No.
Will it fix everything for you? If we all packed up today and got on another boat, get on another boat to take us back to where y'all brought us from, would that make it all better?
No.
Would that make it all better? And if you send all of the Hispanic people back to Mexico, would that make it better?
This is why I started learning other cultures. Mm-hmm. And I want to say to you, this is why long ago I started learning about other cultures, because I got tired of everybody dictating, telling us how Black people should live. So I started learning other cultures. And what did you contribute to the U.S.? What did you contribute when your people came over here? Because everybody is a migrant. Everybody is an immigrant.
Yeah,
in these United States.
Exactly.
So what is your history? And when I started learning history and some of them would come at me or come for me, I had to break it down, like the Irish. I had to break it down. You contributed nothing. Your whole Celtic history is barbaric.
Wow.
So don't come at me. And that's 95% of the police force. So you got to look at their history.
All taught behavior. All of that behavior is taught behavior. And again, I have to believe
exactly.
that there's something that they're not happy about in their own personal lives. And they're using us as an excuse or someone to blame. Somebody to blame because they are just that miserable and unhappy. Because for you to think it's okay to just go out and hunt down Black men to murder, there's something very wrong with your life. Mm-hmm. There's something very wrong with your soul.
I was saying too that I was reading an article today that was saying the majority, all of the Black men who were murdered, there was a lot of attention and a lot of action taken, well, not action, but a lot of media coverage of that. And what I was saying before, a lot of Black women have been murdered too. And a lot of Black women have become victims of the police as well. And they didn't bring as much attention to the women. And even in that there's a difference made. And what is that about? So, I
think there's something about us and how beautiful we are, and how intelligent we are, and how much we actually contribute to everybody's lives.
Yes,
everybody benefits from having a Black woman on their team, i.e. your family, your workplace. They all benefit from us.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
we have had to carry a lot of responsibility. We have been the backbone. We have been strong and been supportive and done all these different things. And I just think that they expect for us to be able to take it like we take everything else.
Yeah.
We make it work. Black women make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right
We
now,
do.
the most educated in the country. The
We
three
make it work.
are Black women.
We make it work.
Right.
And I think that bothers some people.
Yeah.
I think of the level of confidence that we have / arrogance that bothers folks. And it doesn't necessarily, I learned a long time ago, that's not my problem. That's your problem.
Right. I agree.
When somebody tells me I don't like her, my response is, that's their problem.
Right.
That's their problem.
Right. Yeah.
That's it, that's all. And I'm gonna say this, this is as far as I've been to Africa, is this picture on my t-shirt, this is a design my daughter actually did. This is her art. She put it on a t-shirt. So this is as much as I know about Africa, right here, from Beyond X.
What I think,
I have no plans on showing up on this map no time soon.
Too
I think
funny.
the problem with them though is that it's the fear of them in us.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is more or less like that type of people, their type of people are a rebellious people. They always have been. I mean, you look at America. America was made off of rebellion, and it's been rebellion ever since. And so if you constantly, it's just like the type of person, if you constantly dog somebody, spit on them, rape these people, kill them, and you have all of that you putting in them, you're afraid that that's going to come back at you. Because
Amen.
that's how they used to work.
Yeah.
So that's the fear that they see whenever they see us. It's the fear of retaliation, because that's how they work.
Yep.
And that's what they know that they put in us. So that's why they're so quick to go ahead and talk about when they see the riots. Well, we need peaceful protests. How come they not? And then they want to bring up Martin Luther King, but they have to realize that Martin Luther King wouldn't be Martin Luther King without Malcolm X.
That's right.
Right.
So, but they won't mention Malcolm X at all because they don't want to see the Malcolm X in us. They just want us to go ahead and turn the other cheek because they can accept that. That's more palatable to them. But they don't want them in us to come out and retaliate against them.
Right.
So their best idea to do that is just to try to keep us down, keep us not knowing who we are, keep us not knowing what we can do once we do collect together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their purpose. That's why I try to teach people the difference between prejudice and racism.
Right.
There's a difference, absolutely.
And there is a difference, and you try to teach them the difference. Like you let them know that prejudice is, I don't like you because of whatever it is you have, who you are, the whole nine. But the racism is systemic. It's a whole system designed to keep me down. It's a whole system designed to affect who I am, where I live, what I do, and it's perpetual. It goes through generations. That's racism.
Right.
And so for them, that's what they're afraid of. That's why you have women clutching their bags when you have males walking by them in the street. Well, that's why, whenever you have something as far as being a female, you want to express yourself. Now you're a mad black woman.
Absolutely.
That's why, it's like the kids are you can't manage your kids, and they talk about it. That's why it's never a problem. Anything is never a problem. Like what was it? Prescription drugs, crack, when it comes down to meth, the whole nine. It was never a problem until it hits their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Once it hits their neighborhoods, then it becomes an epidemic. Now we got to go ahead and dish out all the money out of government because
it becomes an illness. We have to treat it. you know.
Exactly. But as long as it doesn't come across, as long as it doesn't come across their yard, though, then they're good. They're good.
Well, they have indulged in it. They did it with the Chinese with opium. They can enjoy all the recreational drugs and the things like that, but then when everybody else indulge in it, then it becomes a law, and then it gets out here with them, and then now they're getting ready to get money for opioids, and you put crack in our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I say it all the time, we are our slave masters. When I see us, like you said, rioting and the young ones get out, your blood is running through our veins. You know, you bring a group of people who had nothing to do with you, and then you put them in this situation and you capture them and they become slaves. Then who are they learning from? They're learning from you. And if your ways are barbaric, guess what? At some point in time, down through that bloodline, guess what you're going to get?
It's going to be
right. You're going to get barbaric actions. And this is what is happening. And you're absolutely right. At some point in time, it's going to rear its ugly head, and it's called history. You embedded that, you created that, you split a woman's belly open, and then that man has to look at it, and you know what I'm saying? What do you expect?
Exactly.
What do you expect? They might instill fear in them at that time, but through that bloodline, because your blood is running through our veins, we're not totally, where you see where we're African Americans are totally 100%. No, we're not. My daddy was half white. So what do you expect? That learned behavior, that what I call that I won't call it psycho, demented behavior rears its ugly head at some point. And it may pass generations to generations, but it's gonna rear its head. You know, we are your children.
Exactly.
We are your children.
Exactly. We are what you made us to be, and now the thing about it is that the machine is bigger than the maker now, and so that's where the fear comes in. That's why, you know, you got 5 cops on one guy. You know, that's where the myths come in. As far as like I was listening to y'all talking, and you were right when you said that they had to study, and they think that as far as doctors and stuff like that, think that, you know, well, because you're black, that you can tolerate more pain than anybody else.
Right.
You know, that's where everything comes from. And so, one, they have to hype up themselves because they never want to admit to anybody that they're afraid, especially not to us. Mm-hmm. So that's why, you know, they tell the kids, oh no, they're just not worth it, and they're less than us and the whole nine. Mm-hmm. But they know. If you ever talk to any of like the old Klansmen, like I have, they're not like the new ones at all. They know what it is. They know about the fear. They know that as far as superiority, they don't really have it, and it's just a myth. They know that eventually, you know, it's going to come to a head. They know this, and they're afraid. That's why you don't really see a bunch of old head, you know, Klansmen or neo-Nazis talking. You don't, very rarely do you see that. You only see the young ones out there marching with tiki torches and the whole nine because they don't know any better. So those are the things, again, that you keep in mind, and you learn about, you know, your opposition, because they definitely are our opposition. But if you know how they move, then you know what to do.
Right.
And y'all sound like y'all know what to do, so I don't have to say no more.
So they just claiming the gang, these new ones. They claiming the gang like these young boys do.
Yeah.
They claim the gang.
Try to.
It's tough. Yeah, they try to.
But you know what they say? They say you can't tell somebody something who thinks they know everything.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, any last words, everybody? I've kicked you out. I don't want to stop you off from talking, but I know like some of us might have to.
You know, we got to work tomorrow.
I'm off, so.
It's my bedtime.
I got to go to my real job.
That's why I'm
it's my second job.
That you all have to do things. But this is great. This is great talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, Paprice, I'm behind you 100%. You ought to make that move because you got fired.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm writing my list and checking it twice.
It was nice and conversing with everybody tonight.
Everybody, absolutely, everybody. Thanks to the black man in back.
And thanks for allowing me to speak a little bit. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We always need a brother's insight.
yeah, we really needed you
know him.
for our other guest. You helped him a lot.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
He had a little bit of Tiger Woods going on.
Yeah.
But I digress. I ain't gonna. But
you know what I appreciate?
I love y'all.
I wanted to
love y'all.
But he did listen. He did receive the message, and I appreciate that. So, because you know a lot of people that can't do that, but I appreciate that he did.
Let me have another mail. I was hoping that you interjected and kind of tackled that because you know what I'm saying. A lot of times they blindside women because he may not have grown up like that, or you know what I'm saying.
I do.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with his home life as well. So you know.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was evident that he didn't grow up like that. Like I could assume to say like we did.
Yeah.
So you know he didn't realize that he was the token.
Right.
And so once you realize, you know, that okay, well, I'm that token, you know, so and you have somebody who could verify the fact that okay, you might be that, but time to change. It's never too late to change.
Yeah.
It's never too late to change, and I would hate your first experience finding out that you're that token won't be with a police officer.
Right.
Who
Right.
reminds you that you are a black man in America.
Right.
And that's what he should not want for his son either.
And that's what I was getting ready to say.
You know what I'm saying? So
tokens.
I wanted to tell him to listen to the song that Jay-Z wrote.
Oh, the
Stiller.
Oh.
Yeah.
We know.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. All right, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Gail. Appreciate
you. Thanks, sis.
When you get back.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you all so much, and everybody on the panel and everybody who tuned in out there in Facebook world. And we'll see you next week, I hope.
All right.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, good night. This was wonderful. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.